I'll take
Which
just my
state?
breath.
Yeah, take your breath and tell us who.
Calm down, I will
Yeah.
start already.
Which year are you in? Who's your supervisor? So
Yeah.
everybody knows more or less where you're up to. Please.
Okay. And I'm a PhD student in art, design and architecture school. Actually, I'm working in this term, augmented reality.
Which year of the PhD are you on? And who's
I
your
have spent
supervisor?
just
Yeah.
4 months of my business. This is my first year, 4 months only. I think that was obvious when I was just here. This is my name. I'm going to talk today about visual influences of virtual guidance using augmented reality in historical places and museums in Egypt.
Okay.
It's actually a comparative study between virtual guidance and conventional approaches of guidance. My supervisor is Professor Yunus and co-supervisor is Professor Marcus. Okay, let's start. I think, have you ever been to museums before? Absolutely, we've been around museums before, but actually objects cannot talk about itself. It needs some tool of guidance somehow. It could be human guidance or a tool we can use like a book or a software or a device we can use inside the place, because absolutely object cannot talk about itself. But sometimes the human guidance confuses you. Sometimes the place cannot help you because of the noise of the place, the crowdedness, so sometimes you cannot hear. You need absolutely a reliable guidance. So you should be, sometimes people feel that they need to feel that more independent inside the place. Sometimes tour guide make them treat like children, so I think we need an independent tool which has a lot of information that's supported with interested visuals and it can engage people with. So I'm trying to propose here today augmented reality technology, which is actually, we need to understand what is augmented reality is. In a brief, augmented reality is one of the fastest growing areas in industry of of mobile computing, and it absolutely has a lot of application in different domains, like what you see here and the image. And actually there is a lot of devices can support this kind of technology, like smartphones, tablets, head-mounted display such as Meta glasses, HoloLenses, and see-through Oculus Rift, and finally the spatial augmented reality devices. And all of these devices support augmented reality. So what I'm trying to say here, we need heritage, Egyptian heritage. Actually, Egypt has 30th century of glorious heritage and the legacy of Egypt. A lot of monuments and statues around the world. All of the big museums had a department called Egyptology. So I think Egypt needs or deserve a lot of application in different domains, but I'm trying to say here we need this kind of technology in the domain or the domain of tourism, because the sector of tourism in Egypt is critical and has a lot of influences on the economy. And if you saw this report or statistics about the amount of tourists, it goes down like that. So I think we have a problem and we need a lot of development. One of the development we need is the guidance inside the museum. It's one of the solutions we are trying to raise just to fix this situation. And regarding the development inside Egypt, I'm trying to use a case study of Egyptian museum in Cairo. This museum, by the way, is the biggest museum in Egypt, and it has 120,000 elements and artifacts inside it. So if we have a look inside this place, we can find a lot of statues are placed here like that, and this statue doesn't have any information over it or any tags even, and human guidance cannot help the tourists inside to give them information. If there's some of tourists need to access to more information, they cannot find that with the human guidance. So absolutely, can you see the images here? All of the elements are stuck in a place without any coordination, without any information you can access. So absolutely we need a reliable device that can help us inside. Okay. When I try to say about the contribution diagram Absolutely, there is a lot of devices can help you inside the museum. Virtual reality and augmented reality as well. Some devices just you can use it just to get the sound you like, the location based everything inside. But I'm trying to raise what is existed knowledge here and what is the gap exactly. The first gap is a lot of functions has distributed in different devices, but there is no application can locate all of the functionality inside it. Secondly, there is no study about the visuals, how the visual influence the responsibility of carrying the information. So there is no one care about the visuals, how the visuals can help tourists inside, because my base background was visual communication. And the empirical contribution here I'm trying to raise that if we build an AR guidance system which has all of the functionality inside, and I will construct a framework that can evaluate and analyze and design the guidance system, or can evaluate whatever the guidance system can be built in the future based on that framework. So the real contribution will be building a multifunctional AR application in context of Egyptian heritage, because in Egyptian heritage there is no application actually in AR before, even in our museum, which depend only on the human guidance. And I will construct a framework that can analyze and evaluate. I will try to reserve the artifacts from ruining by creating an identical 3D models in a digital library that can, by the way, tourists can, when he goes home, he can just see whatever the item he would like by using his app. And last one is using the power of visuals in AR to guide and to educate as well. If we go to some questions we need to raise here, what potential of AR can add to the field of touristic guidance if we utilize the visual effects, like all of the types of visuals here, like text, subtitles, images, 3D models, animation. What are the criteria or characteristics to build a framework that can evaluate and analyze the AR applications? And what can AR guidance system contribute in displaying the restoration? By the way, this application I will gonna show you sketches of this application. Actually, if you point your application to an artifact, there is a notification that can tell you that we have the rest of this piece. You can see it in a 3D that can help the tourist to access to the rest of this piece as it was in the past. And I will address the differences between the virtual guidance and augmented reality and conventional approaches. The last question is, I'm trying to explore the most significant beneficial of visuals to raise the experience of visual communication for the visitors. I'm trying to aim here that if we use augmented reality in the field of touristic guidance and educational process, I'm trying to use this application inside Egyptian museum, and the objectives is to exceed the limits of engaging people, because one of the objectives here I'm trying to focus with to engage people with different types of functionality inside the application. I'm trying to create a visual, proper visuals to give the tourists adequate information. And this software could be used in different kind of devices like head-mounted display, smartphones, tablet that I mentioned before. And by the way, this is one of the objectives I care about also. I will try to build a network which can connect the artifacts, which has a relationship between, if there is some of the pieces have been found in one tomb, so will be an indication that this piece have found like with this piece in the same tomb. That you can make a comparison in different contexts if you'd like to make a comparison. I'll discover an artifacts as well by different layers of information. For example, if there is a public tourist, he doesn't care about these objects, he just need to see and to make a tour inside, so just he got the basic information. But if he specializes in this kind of Egyptology and archaeologist, so he can see whatever the information he needed, for example, students or archaeologists or artists. My research methodology is in theoretical approach. Absolutely, I will make a literature review to identify AR projects that have been done before, and investigate the visual criteria that can make an assessment for a next, the current and next kind of AR guided system. I will build a full guidance multifunctional AR application. I will make a case study for absolutely my the museum in Egypt, and I will make semi-structured interview and questionnaire surveys to see the effectiveness of visuals I have created in this application. And finally, I will make a framework. This is my research design, starting from knowing the existed knowledge, going to the research questions, sticking to the objective, and then collecting data, make some development on the visuals. I try to specify what is types of visuals I will use. I will make a criteria for that. I will collect that again from the museum to see which kind of visuals that people would like, and then I will build my framework. I will make some refinement in the circle, and then end by building the final version of framework. Finally, we would like to speak about the application I would like to build at the end. Okay, it will contain these features: data built based on your background, like short guided tour and long guided tour. Navigation: this application will give you a sensible route that you can follow, or by the way, you can skip it and you choose whatever the place you like, and you can locate yourself inside with the internal maps. We will use some interactivity, restoration, so you can restore the ruined antiques, and visuals and audio, which can help you to carry the information and then network between the artifacts. Finally, I will show you something. This is my application. I'm trying to make the initial sketch of it. This is a timeline. You can choose the period if you'd like inside the place. So once you choose the period, and then you go through the timeline, you can locate yourself in this period. So you can see the navigation, and then you go to the place which has a lot of antiques related to this area. And then you can turn on your camera to see the 3D model of the image of the antiques, and you can see how can it restore the ruined image, ruined pieces, and by capture here. And then you can locate yourself inside the place and see the maps, search about antiques you would like to see, dig for more information that dedicated for the highest level of knowledge. And this is, you can listen about the narrative speaking and the audio files. This is actually my initial sketches about my application, and this will be the loop. It has a simple card that can represent it. You can use it very easy because it has a childish card. Thank you for listening, and sorry for what happened before.
Thank you.
I'll be happy to.
Questions? Please. Okay.
Yeah, we have number of similar projects we did in the past.
Okay.
But my question is not that one. I have a quick question if you don't mind. I have seen many applications already, AR application for cars and for even archaeology. And you and I, we have developed a Stonehenge with a company using 3D scan data, and then similar stuff. From your presentation, what I don't see is where is your contribution? Is it another application you are developing and then selling it, or is it an academic study? It's not very clear. I know you have something there, but I think where is your potential contribution to knowledge? It should be a bit clearer, A, for me. B is your AR. Are you talking video-based interactivity or 3D? And also, term 3D is not as clear as it should be. Are you talking 3D scanning, 3D modeling, and texturing individual objects, or are you taking what is 3D for you? This interactivity. A bit clarified.
Okay. This kind of application integrates all of kind of multimedia insights, starting from augmented reality as it is, like scanning 3D objects, and then adding all of the materials that can, has the same material that the antiques has, and it has a lot of functions that can help you. First, you asked me about the contribution. The contribution is, I'm thinking about two kinds of contribution. The first kind is taking care about the visuals, because there is no study actually about taking care of visuals inside this kind of AR, because if you would like to educate or making a guidance inside museums or whatever the education tool is, we try to use some of games, some of videos, some of the multimedia stuff to learn and educate. So I'm trying to take care of the visuals that see how it could influence on the touring and guiding and educating. This is the first issue. The second issue, actually I didn't have time to show you my application. It's a kind of way that can make a sense of 3D, or sometimes there is some of antiques you cannot touch it, or you can see all of the views or the angles around it. You cannot compare it in different way of your background. So it makes some connections between the artifacts. It shows you a 3D model, and it makes some interactions and give you comprehensive information about it.
I think Ramy wanted to.
Okay, so I think you are in a very good place. So there's much research, and this is reflected in the presentation. But there's much to clarify. So first, I disagree with this contribution. I don't think you should speak about contribution at this stage. I don't think contribution should be written in the introduction, because there is the need for research. That is kind of the counterpart of contribution. Contribution is addition to knowledge, and only after you have done the research and you compare what is out there, so you can argue that there is a contribution. So the whole word is not needed at this stage to me. But you operate from research needs, and you say that you have a research gap. Actually, it's a myth here that it is kind of the only starting point, a practical gap. There's a lack of an artifact. A practical need can be a starting point for research too, not only research gap. And then there's this issue with aim and objectives and research questions. So in the British tradition there is one aim, it is the destination, not means. And then there may be objectives, or there may be research questions. But there should be kind of economy here, because for every objective, for every research question, in your conclusion section, you need to tell what you have achieved and you justify. And actually, research is very difficult. So the less you have moving parts, the better. And you will find that everything takes time, much more than you can imagine. So actually, you have presented stuff for perhaps 10 PhD studies. You can have research questions, and then you don't need objectives, because every question can easily be translated into an objective and vice versa. And to me, you have in some objectives something that would be impact if this would be a research application. So you need to narrow down and clarify and so on. Then regarding methodology, so you need to make readings. If you are creating an artifact or framework, and it seems to me that you are doing that, so it would be design science research, also called constructive research, and there's much literature on that. if you are using that in a museum, and so there might be a part of actual research too. And under this umbrella, under the umbrella of actual research or design science research, you can use qualitative or quantitative research, but it's not big deal.
Yeah.
This is not data-driven research. Okay, I stop here.
And I was just going to say that there's going to be, I'll circulate an email, and I'm late with it, but there's going to be a presentation by Professor Carlos Formoso from Brazil on design science research on the 3rd of February. I'll circulate the email to everyone, so you're all aware. He's going to give a number of sessions. One of them is on design science, and I think it would be good for you specifically. Please.
Just be careful about the slide that you've got where you're suggesting that this stuff is needed because there are less tourists in Egypt. It's 2012, at least in England. People have not been encouraged to go to Egypt. So
About actually what the tourism statistics?
yeah, the advice for British
Home
tourism.
Office.
Yeah, Home Office.
Yeah.
Is not to travel.
There's many sort of reasons why that might drop.
Yeah.
Can I ask, have you got a partnership agreement with the museum if your research grounded within that context to develop?
An agreement, yeah.
Yeah.
I got an agreement with the previous director, but actually they changed it.
Okay.
But I think the same agreement is still there.
I've got an observation, well, a bit of information for you really, rather than a question. Yesterday on the news, Google have teamed up with Buckingham Palace to provide educational, almost like cardboard boxes of 3D images of the palace for school kids.
Yeah.
So maybe it's something you could look at.
There is a lot of ways why this exists from a while, and actually there is a cartoon board you cannot cost it, it doesn't cost £5. You can just put your phone inside. By the way, this is a kind of virtual reality, not augmented, because I don't have much time to explain the difference between virtual is feeling you are immersed in a 3D world that computer can generate it. But augmented, actually, you can use your phone. I'm trying to say here there is a lot of types of augmented reality, but I'm trying to say here that the application I'm gonna do here can work with the phone we all hold it in our pocket. You can just install your application, and all of this stuff will come up, and you can see it in the place. Maybe it's not obvious because maybe I'm not clear because I didn't show you my application. Maybe not clear because you see a lot of stuff are similar, but I'm trying to. Actually, I was presenting yesterday to my colleagues, and they advised me not to explain what is AR, because AR has a lot of types. And if I would like to show the gap, actually, there is one slide just only with images.
I don't think you need to do it. Well, I think I agree with Laurie in that you need to scope it a lot further. So are you providing a tool for education? Are you providing a tool to increase tourist numbers? Are you providing a tool to do X, Y, Z? You need to clarify what that is, and then once you've done that, you'll be able to then determine what the next move is.
The other thing I think you need to be careful with, especially because you're dealing with developing something which is technology related. Sometimes you can have this tendency of jumping to the solution before you actually determine the need clearly, and this is what I think Larry was trying to allude to, and I totally agree. You have to, in a way, step back from the solution a little bit now. Take a deep look into the literature. Take a deep look at the need, the practical need as well, and clarify what the research need is, what is the problem that you're trying to propose a solution. And then you can see, well, is really augmented reality the best solution for it? And if it is, why is it? So you can start building up your argument that way, because otherwise, if you start directly from the solution and you just create a new problem, it's a product development problem rather than a research.
In the beginning, I was a comparative study between that kind of guidance that already existed in the museum and the other type of guidance. In a commercial way, I would try to test which one of them will cost more, because if you're using your application inside your phone and feel it's more independent, so you don't have to use that human guidance, which cannot give you a sufficient information. And regarding the development of I'm not from computer science. I would study absolutely a lot of programming languages, but actually I'm trying to use visual because this is my domain. use visuals inside it, because I'm assuming that visuals has an influence on delivering the information. So I'm not in that kind of person that can develop an AR system.
Yeah.
No, I'm trying to use the existing knowledge and then try to use my abilities to grow up, you know, at
That's fine.
specific
You
purpose.
still need to walk back a little bit, go to the literature and identify what the research need is, you know, because that will help you even with your objectives, you know, be able to be a bit more focused and more specific.
The critical part of your project will be the action research in the museum.
Yeah.
And capturing the qualitative data in terms of what type of people walk through that museum, in terms of the makeup. Do they actually have a smartphone?
Yeah.
In terms of being able to use it.
Yeah.
What objects do they look at and what objects do they discount? To find the trigger points of interest, because one object might lead to another object in terms of your experience. So you need to capture all that behavioural data to actually frame your sort of test solution.
One of my research methodologies is collecting two types of information: data that needed by tourists and what kind, make like a small test just to see which types of visual can help him, a little bit of functionality that can help him, and that after that will go again and make the first prototype. You know, I will measure that.
Well, I think you need to follow people through the museum to record their current experience and identify the things that...
taking video of their facial expressions about the satisfaction of this application.
And are they actually reading stuff if there's stuff to read? And once you've got that body of knowledge, you can actually control the next part of your research study with greater precision.
Yeah, but you know, first year I'm trying just to focus on literature review and what has exactly happened and what is or already applied in different museums now and different.
I think we'll...
Yeah, about issue, you know, but if I just one quick comment really. She finished her PhD, she's a lecturer now, and then she did application of 3D scanning and 3D haptic technologies for museums where the objects, artifacts you cannot touch. So from her initial research, she concentrated on one specific area. I think you are in early stage. I agree that you have to look at. But when I say potential contribution, I didn't say contribution. Sorry. What I meant is try to find out your focus area.
Good. Okay.
Last comment.
We'll have to move on because otherwise, we have time constraints.
Last comment. I'm trying to contribute all of the functionality to be distinguished and to be a full guidance system, not focused on.
I think what we are trying to say in terms of advice is that you have, in order to be able to contribute, you have to find possibly a better focus to the work. I think this is what we are saying. Because it's just a little bit too broad, and having an overall guide that solves all the problems is a great idea, but you won't be able to do it in 3 years.
You have 10 PhDs what you're presenting.
Exactly.
You won't solve any of the problems you have.
At the end of the day, if you try to solve everything, you won't be able to solve any. So it's better to solve a couple of specific problems and provide something that actually will help with those, than as opposed to actually try to solve everything and do nothing else.
It could be something that just delivers a personalised path. So as soon as one person takes an image of one object, there's a whole personalised path through it. You know, it could be something as simple as that.
Okay, I think we...
PhDs, and I'll have to do it then.
Any...
Does research.
Who's going next then?
Yeah.